What's up, humans, and welcome to a new Psicoactivo. Happy Tuesday, everybody. Okay, so we got to talk about this because it's happening. The age of disclosure is having a serious impact in the industry, not just UFO related topics. Dan Farah's film is still being pushed as an Oscar contender, but it's also become like a full blown video on demand event because within 48 hours of landing on Prime Video, the film broke the platform's all time record for highest grossing documentary, passing Free Solo. It doesn't stop there because it pulled off the impossible with the number one and number two best selling movies across every genre for 8 straight days, beating out massive studio drops like One Battle After Another, Jurassic World Rebirth, Tron, Mission Impossible, and more. People aren't just watching, they're voting with their wallets and they're choosing the UAP topic over blockbuster fiction. So the rollout is really, really impressive from Dan Farah. And I just want to show you some of the impacts that it's already having. You guys remember last Sunday's video where I spoke about this Polymarket odds about UFO disclosure? This is how the odds stand today. 99% chance for Trump to declassify UFO files in 2025. We do have to look at Polymarket's the way they do this, the way they get the odds and how they get the odds. And I just got to show you this one because it's important for context. It says, "Will the U.S. confirm that aliens exist before 2027?" This is one of the one that remains at 12% that I already spoke to you guys about. This market will resolve to yes if the President of the United States, any member of the Cabinet of the United States, any member of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, or any U.S. federal agency definitely states that extraterrestrial life or technology exists by December 31st, 2026 at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time. Otherwise, this market will resolve to no. The primary resolution source for this market will be official information from the government of the United States. However, a consensus of credible reporting will also be used. So, just so you guys know what this consists on. So, that is essentially what they consider for this. That is one of the effects. Another one of the effects is actually more exciting to me because I'm a journalist and I'm a media analyst and I constantly look at these things. And this just happened yesterday. The USA Today website, the newspaper, they just released this just yesterday. This is the front page of one of the largest newspapers in the world, not just America. And it says, questions about aliens have gone unanswered. Academics' new message. Time to get real about UFOs. This is another one of those effects that this film is causing because something similar that happened back in 2017 was the New York Times article. We already know that the effect that it caused, having it on the USA Today's front page, I think can be at least close to having a massive effect. I'm not sure what it will be, but we'll see how it goes. It's been less than 24 hours since this released. And if you add this to that effect that it's having, who has information about this that is making them 99% chance that Trump declassifies UFO files in 2025? When it comes to this question, people are like saying that before December 31st at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time of 2025, Donald Trump has to make an announcement in order for this to be a yes. And the odds currently are 99% chance. That is crazy. What is making them so certain? What information are they looking at? Polymarket is supposed to be a serious type of aggregator for odds. And the fact that they're like at 99% on this, it's weird. I'm not going to lie. But what do you guys have to say about this? Do you think that Polymarket is getting information from truly unbiased sources, or where do you think they're getting their information from? As I told you guys, there's a massive effort, and it's like on from all walks of life that are trying to convince Trump to look this way. At this point, I already said this in one of the circles that I hang out with. It's like trying to get a kitty to pay attention to your laser pointer. And there's a lot of people pointing lasers to get the kitty's attention. That's what people are trying to do right now. That's how I see all of this happening right now. Honestly, I have no idea whether Trump knows that he's probably way in over his head. I don't think anybody's telling him that, but say he disclosed. Uh, I'm pretty sure that he's not told the entire truth. Although I do remember something that is very recent, relatively, from earlier this year that happened, and there's not a lot of people talking about it really. And it has to do with an article from Italy from a project called Preserve Destiny. This excerpt is really interesting to me. Let me read it to you guys. It says, it goes from the public level where they tell you fairy tales, as those who know the dossier sarcastically explain, to the so called programs in the programs, sections so compartmentalized that they remain inaccessible even to the incumbent president. Behind the choice to move the center of gravity to the White House, there would be, according to the well informed, the desire to directly control the flow of information, and maybe, in perspective, also to decide what to make public and what not. A decision that, in part, also responds to the pressures of a public opinion increasingly attentive to the phenomenon. The recent reports of Congress have raised more doubts than certainties, fueling the idea that something is systematically hidden. But in the corridors of Washington, there are those who read this move in a more political key, a card to play in the next election campaign. Trump himself, they say, would be intrigued by the possibility of using the UFO theme to show himself as a president who finally tells the truth to Americans. It would not be the first time that a president caresses the temptation of an epochal revelation, but this time, experts warn the scope of the documents at stake would be unprecedented. The Pentagon officially does not comment, but the rumors speak of nervousness on the upper floors. Transferring the management of very sensitive programs to the White House also means exposing them to greater risks of news leakage. And the line between transparency and propaganda is very thin. Meanwhile, in the palaces of power, there are confidential meetings and only eyes briefings, update sheets classified and such as such that to consult them, you need not only authorization, but also physical presence in a screened office because they explain Project Preserve Destiny is not just about unidentified flying objects, but potentially revolutionary technologies and perhaps not all of terrestrial origin. Science fiction? Maybe. But in Washington, reality and legend often get confused. That's from that article from L'Espresso. And it does talk about Trump being briefed about this stuff. And it does talk about Trump wanting more information about this. So we don't really know how informed Trump is of everything, really, because this article actually came out in a left leaning newspaper, and it didn't come out as a spoof or any hit piece or anything like that. That's surprising to me. So we got to keep thinking about stuff like this that comes out in leaks on the periphery of what's going on. And those are, in my opinion, those are the biggest nuggets of information. They're the more telling ones because the ones that are like adhere to the narrative, to the main narrative, those are always a bit deceptive in many ways, I think. So for me, this was very important. And I think that that is where a large part of the debate is right now of people that either want Trump to disclose or they don't want Trump to disclose. And they all have really extreme views as to why it should happen and why it shouldn't happen. And that is for me one of the biggest hurdles in this stuff, especially when it comes to Trump, because I'm not sure how briefed he is. If he was briefed about Project Preserve Destiny, if this program actually exists, and if that is the case, I don't know if he would tell the people. Hopefully, there's a lot of cool heads surrounding him, so he can do it properly. Because if he does it and misses the opportunity and messes it up, that could be even more detrimental than non-disclosure. Can you imagine? That would suck. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Do you think the movie's effect is something we're seeing right now in real time? The USA Today front page news, the Polymarket at 99%. What the hell does that mean? And how brief do you think the president is? Do you think that article from L'Espresso tells you how briefed he is, how much he knows? Or do you think he doesn't know much? Do you think he was only briefed by like Eric Davis and Jay Stratton and that's it? What do you think happened? Let me know in the comments. If you like the content you see, I'm going to ask you to like, share, hype, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell icon. That's all you need to do in order to help us, and it is what helps us the most. So thank you. But if you want to support us in other ways, there's a few links down there you can choose from. You can also become a member on YouTube, or you can support us through KGRA. Anything you choose to do is always appreciated. So thank you. That's it for me today on this video, but I'll see you guys in the next one. Remember, stay curious and inquisitive like everybody who's around President Donald Trump and has a chance to ask him stuff and tell him stuff. Stay curious and inquisitive like them. Always. Bye.
Psicoactive.